Hey everyone, this is Marcia O'Connor, CEO and founder of the O'Connor Group. We are here about top three. Top three is, entrepreneurs share their secrets and their mistakes. And I think a lot of times there is a falsehood about entrepreneurship that it's easy and it's so much fun. It is fun, but I don't think it's easy. And you're going to hear experiences from a variety of individuals who are either just starting out in their careers or have been doing it for several years or have a solo entrepreneurship or have partners and have a big team. And I think you need to hear all those experiences to help you become a better entrepreneur as well. So sit back, enjoy, be careful if you're driving right now, and welcome to Top 3. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Marcia O'Connor again with the O'Connor Group. And don't forget, we do outsource HR, outsource recruiting, and this is Top 3, where entrepreneurs share their secrets and their mistakes. And today I have the co-founder and principal of Mole Street, Brian LaPann. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my
Appreciate
gosh,
it,
my pleasure. And then, the greatest thing, Brian, is we just had a quick conversation about how you had gotten started. You've been doing this since 2011, but you sort of started after that wonderful Great Recession. So walk us through how you got started.
Sure. So, really fell into this. 2010, I moved to Philadelphia and was pursuing a career in music. I was working at a law firm down in Delaware. And I met my business partner, Brendan, at on Mole Street, which is the name of our company. But later we kind of reconvened at this place called Time, which some people may know that are from Philly, and it's a really cool hang where a lot of the best musicians would hang out. So, we got to know each other, and then promptly got released from our respective jobs during the downturn, and said, how do we not go back to work for somebody else and do something cool? So at that time, we started booking music and doing events for lots of organizations in Philadelphia. I had a lot of relationships and personally played music, and so did he. And then he knew a lot of the associations and events going on and was, around town. So we started putting these great musicians into settings and atmospheres that, were a little stodgy or needed some vibe. And that kind of started us in business. But it was really the 99 weeks of Obama's, unemployment insurance that helped us kind of figure out. We like to say we were wandering around in the dark without a flashlight, but we knew we had something. We knew we had a vision. We knew we could create something big. So, over the next kind of tranche of 5 years or so, we started to dabble in bigger events, a lot bigger music stuff, and started to go into the marketing side of the world. And then my wife, at the time, we had just gotten married. She moved to Philly. She comes from a big ad agency background, so we started doing marketing. And I was just telling you, but the whole progression of the last 11 years has been a big MBA program and a lot of taking a giant block of marble that we knew could become something really big and special, but slowly chipping away at it. And so it's been a lot of remove services, remove things that we're doing, and focus and getting deeper. So that's where it all started. And once we started getting into the marketing side, we saw, there's bigger opportunity. Technology started to come up, and we, basically stayed alive long enough to say, okay, well, where's the opportunity? And I went to Inbound in 2018, which is a huge marketing conference with a company called HubSpot. Which is now a key partnership of our company. We consider ourselves HubSpot as a solution. That's a little moniker we came up with, but we're now an elite agency partner. We're one of 60 out of over 6,000 partners in the ecosystem. We've recently achieved that, and we're kind of moving out of this marketing agency world into a technology and marketing consultancy. And I know you consider your company consultancy. And, it's being much more strategic, using the technology exclusively as the foundation and the tool. Whereas it's an amazing tech, it is just a technology, right? And we are the ones that power it. We're the people behind it, the minds, the brains that come up with the strategies that make it work, that align with our customers to figure out how to really propel their business from the sales, marketing, and operations perspective. So, like I said, we stayed in the game.
Mm-hmm.
We found this relationship. We dove deep into it, and then things started to become more clear. We were able to hire around it. We were able to focus our business model and our solution base around both the technology and this particular direction. We were no longer using 10 different techs and doing 10 different services. Now we really only have 3 solutions.
So you were focusing. So you were coming in. And one of the things you mentioned, which I wanted to go back to, is like that 2018 was that basically, you landed. And you landed on HubSpot. And I tell people, like, okay, you didn't just land. There's a reason why that became like your bread and butter. So what was that?
Well, okay, so being at the event, right? So coming from this whole event, music background, it was an energy, 20,000 people in the convention center. I'm by myself. My partner couldn't make it. I went. I called him from the bench. I was like, I was out in the, it was one of those moments like, where are we going next?
Yeah.
I don't know. And so I was like, we have to engage with this. And he was like, let's go. And, has done a great job building relationships with them. But also just the culture at HubSpot aligns with our culture. I kind of think of them more like an Apple to, maybe just the kind of people they are, what they believe in, it aligns. We have our own culture, and it, it's not about really all about them. It's really all about what we're trying to build, but they're a big part of it. And it just felt right. Then I learned more about the founders, and Brian and Dharmesh are really inspiring individuals. Brian, turns out owns one of the Jerry Garcia's guitars, his Wolf guitar.
You're kidding.
He owns it.
Wow.
He's a big Grateful Dead fan. He actually wrote a book about how the Grateful Dead influenced HubSpot, and their approach to marketing was an inbound marketing approach, which is a giant pillar of what HubSpot built their entire company around. So, all these things started to come together, and it just felt right. It wasn't just, let's get a partnership with another tech so we can get X, Y, and Z. It felt a little deeper than that.
Oh, yeah.
And so we navigated and made it happen. And then it's been off to the races since then.
And here we go. So tell me more about the company now. How many employees do you have?
Yeah, we just hit the 20 mark, so we're at 21 employees.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we consider ourselves a technology and marketing consultancy. We have 3 solutions that we provide: content marketing, which is classic, right? But we think about it in a more strategic way, consulting enterprise or mid-market companies that have teams internally that we can train or we can support. And not just a content house. Yeah. And then we have growth-driven design, which is actually a terminology that HubSpot coined that we've taken over, and I came up with this little moniker that your website is never done.
Never.
And so
I believe that completely.
Okay. Yeah. And like some clients think, oh yeah, we'll build this and then it'll be done. And it's a huge asset.
Right.
But so we do it. We build from the ground up, or we will do an iterative page-by-page approach, and we also focus on the data and the analytics and the user experience. So that's really effective. We have a nice creative side to our business. We're a very creative shop, but we also focus on analytics and data. And so I think we've got a good mix of those 2 things, which is fairly unique, actually. Some people are just really creative, and others are really technical. And I think we're doing a good job towing the line. And then HubSpot Consulting, which could be as small as onboarding a client, but typically much larger. So for the enterprise clients, it could be moving off of a CRM with 1 million contacts from Salesforce to HubSpot. It could be complex workflows, integrations, or even just weekly connects with our clients about, here's some workflows we could do. Let's get some quick wins. Let's build a chat bot. Let's constantly do small activities that stack up over time to support your sales, marketing, and your operations.
Increase your sales and all too. But if you had to break it down, though, in regards to what's really the bread and butter for you guys with all those different 3 areas, how would you break that down?
I would say that what's flying off the shelves right now is the HubSpot Consulting, because people have the tech and they realize that they've invested in it and they don't know how to use it.
Right.
And that's really the volume, and where we're growing the fastest volume-wise. And then we're graduating clients from there into our marketing department and being more choosy about that. So certain clients want, lower level engagements, but on the marketing side, there's so much engagement necessary to be effective and to be successful that, those are larger clients, but we're just choosing those clients and working with like upselling them into that world.
And which is different
a little
though,
bit more carefully.
because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, and this show is all about entrepreneurs. So we're going to have entrepreneurs that are brand new, all the way up to 10 years. And when I say HubSpot, and of course the biggest thing I get pushed back is saying, but that's pretty expensive. So do you have typically, what does that look like for a client when they're ready to use a HubSpot? Like, when is it time to get rid of the Excel spreadsheet and say, okay, it's time to have a true CRM?
Yeah, I mean, you can get a free CRM for them. I mean, it's very cost effective. They have an enterprise solution that's competing with Salesforce. I think they'll be bigger than Salesforce in the next 10 to 15 years if they continue down the track and keep pushing. But yeah, you can get the free CRM and have a lot of success. You don't even have to have any revenue. You can start using the tool right away.
Mm-hmm. I don't think a lot of entrepreneurs understand that. And so they'll use the Excel, and right away they have this thing about HubSpot. I'm like, listen, if you want to use your logo, if you want to use all these things and have your graphics and your email marketing and all, then yeah, you'll probably have to go to the enterprise version. But you also want to make sure that you have somebody running it. So how can they use a group like yours to help them run it and keep track of the stats and all too? Because people don't always have, they're going to spend the money either for the program or for the employee. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they can do both, but sometimes they can't. So what would you recommend?
So regardless if someone is just starting a business and has no budget, but or they're a big enterprise company, the first thing is, what do you need? It's not about the tool. It's
right.
Like what is the use case, period? So there's lots of different technology. Technology is not the answer. You have to think about what you're trying to power. So if you're trying to power your sales and you can't keep track of things, and that's an issue, it's a simple CRM. You can put your details in. If you have a vision for how to do some automations for email, and you're not happy with MailChimp or whatever, then dig in and use that. And that scales all the way up the ladder, right?
Yep.
Like,
yeah,
the clients that have some kind of vision on where they want to get to, and they know the tool can do it, and they can communicate that, and we can take it from there and like help fill that out.
Yeah.
That's where the success comes. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I just think it's less about the technology at the end of the day, and it's more about what are you trying to achieve, and then choosing the right partner and the right technologies for you that can help get you there. But you have to have the vision, or you have to have the some kind of a way to step forward into it. It's not
right.
going to be a magic bullet.
No, and it isn't. But I also think a lot of entrepreneurs, they know they need marketing, but because they're not an expert in the field, I think sometimes they do it, half-butt. And I'm like, don't do it that way. If you want to have, why are you here in the first place? So, well, to increase sales and get us more visible. So people come in and we get recognized out there, right? And the name of the game is revenue, right? If you're an entrepreneur. And I think people have a hard time understanding all that. I do think, though, and you just gave me a great idea because I'm so involved with EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, if having you present to one of our monthly sessions called EOAM, and we bring in like basically subject matter experts to talk about areas to help these entrepreneur members to become better. And then maybe it'd be good having you come in and speak with Mike, who runs a really cool company called Cyber, which is in cybersecurity. And really talk about what HubSpot is and when do they come on board? What's the big idea behind it? What is that vision? What is that plan? What are you trying to get out of it? And how you walk those clients through all that, because I think that'll help them too, because a lot of them never really spend the time and effort and money on marketing as much as I think they should.
Yeah.
But it's just basically education.
I love that. And just, to evangelize the product a little bit though, and why we like it, I think it's valuable to understand that, they've built this from scratch. And they have 5 main hubs that we service off of,
right.
Within those solutions we talked about. So they've got their CMS hub, build websites on it.
Right.
Everyone needs a website, period. They've got their marketing, right? That's the classic, and that's the automations, and that's just communication and lead nurturing, and there's tons and tons of tools there.
Right.
They've got the sales, which is their CRM, which is constantly getting more flexible, and there's custom, capabilities. You could build anything within it, if you're dev. So we have a pretty strong dev team and growing as well. They have their service hub, which is like a Zendesk or something, but they've got their own strategy there. It's surveys, it's ticketing, all that kind of stuff. And then they have operations hub, which a lot of that has to do with, webhooks and getting, integrations established, but there's other things involved there. So sales, marketing, and operations, it's all there.
Yeah.
And, unlike a Salesforce, which has gobbled up all these other companies, tried to cobble them together, it sounds really good, and then it can be tough because the right hand doesn't always talk to the left.
No. Salesforce is hard though too, I find. It's a great product if you have the right person helping you getting it through it and understands all that. And other reason why I like HubSpot so much better is because I feel as if it's very easy to use, it's very simplified, and once you figure it out, it becomes really, really simple to use. But it's also a great tool for a lot of entrepreneurs. So, I mean, obviously, we hired you guys to help us out, because we have
and
HubSpot.
vice versa.
Yeah, and vice versa. We help you with recruiting now, and little did you know about our program. And now, basically, we do vice versa. And we met you downstairs in the kitchen when Megan, was getting coffee, and just like, what do you do?
Yeah.
And then here we are today, on a podcast. So it's funny how it works, the relationships and the entrepreneurs. But listen, you had, some challenges, in regards to where you were doing. And going from that music side of the house and going to the HubSpot, what was a mistake? What was something that you guys found out like, oh crap, and how you got through it?
Oh man, so many.
They all say that actually.
So I think, it's hard to call it a mistake because I think we needed to do too much stuff to realize we needed to do less. But I think one thing we could have done maybe sooner, or in retrospect, focus.
Mm-hmm. Well, how did you start focusing then? I mean, it's a great word. It sounds so logical. It sounds so simple. It's as hard as nails.
Once you find something that is, it's funny because like my father-in-law says, follow the money. It's kind of the Italian guy. He's joking, but
Jerry Maguire.
At the same time, it's when you're adding value.
Mm-hmm.
To the world, you get back some financial success from that, or at least an interest there, and you need to dig deeper into that. You need to understand that, and I think that you just figuring out where you're adding value and figuring out what you'd like to do and where the bigger vision could go.
Right.
As soon as you find that, it's important to double down on it.
Right.
And that may lead to another direction, but. I think it's, and also I'd say getting kind of in collaboration with that, getting people in your circle, hiring consultants, even if you're getting mentors, this is all classic stuff too, but you've got to ask people that have done this before how to do it. So asking more people. So I have a great mentor. He's helped me a lot. He's the former COO of Life is Good and a partner in the company and a close family friend. And he's helped me a ton with just management principles in early days, but you've got to figure out there's multiple components of a business and they all have to work together in order to be successful. So
they do.
Management's one piece of it, but there's sales, there's marketing, there's
Are you working on a platform now like EOS or scaling up?
So I'm a big believer in scaling up.
Mm-hmm.
Read the book. I got it from.
Have you seen Vern? Vern comes in the office.
This is a crazy story, and I don't know how interesting this is to the crowd, but it was interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the Inbound conference, got the Scaling Up book in my little packet, right? Read it on the train, read it again. And then, COVID hit and we went through all kinds of wild things like as a business and personally like everyone else in the world. But, survived and we're much better for it. And my wife goes, we have 3 kids now and you can't take calls as an executive in the business with kids running around in the background. You've got to get, a co-working space. I'm like, all right. So I go online, I call, ended up knowing that one of the guys here at Align Space, just ran. I didn't know he even worked here. Long story short, got a little private office. I'm in my cube, came over, love it here. And I start to unpack and I realize, oh, well, Vern Harnish, the author of the book is, partners and he's not partners with
John
in Align, but he's partners with the owner and a couple different things. And then I meet John and I start to build a relationship with him. And so, I'm like running into Vern here.
Right.
So it's a small world.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even know that he lived anywhere near, this area. And John's been amazing to me personally as well.
Oh, good.
So
he's great.
All these things kind of coalesce, but that's a methodology that I definitely
Right.
believe in and follow.
Oh, good. Yeah, you got to do that because the bigger you become, it's well, I can tell you for HR purposes, like you're 25, you're 50, then you're 100. The people issues get very different each time around, and so it's making sure that you have those things in play. And I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs. That's what we do, right? And how to do all that. We have the recruiting side, but the HR side, the infrastructure is really big as well.
I'll tell you something tactical for the listeners that we employed from that's been effective, just to cut right to like what we did that worked. Daily huddles. So there's a good page in the book about the daily huddle, how to run that, what that means. We're a remote company. We used to not be. So that's a 15-minute huddle that happens every morning with the entire team. That happens Tuesday through Friday for us, 9:32 to 9:47, and everyone in the company says, 3 priorities for the day, critical number, that some kind of metric that's important. We're still working on that piece, but and then, we have some fun things with it, like whoever's leading that for the day has a quote of the day, maybe some little mini announcements, but it's really meant to be a quick connect everyone to the business and go run into the day. Huge. That's our virtual office door opening. We also have we're constantly restructuring our management and team meeting on Monday, but that's been very effective for us too. And just having these stationary, like, must attend, this is what you do, some structure to the week. Critically important for any business.
Focus.
And constantly fine tuning those. So that's been a big help for us.
How does obviously your partner and you are musicians? How does that mind shift of being a musician has helped you in your company?
That's a great question. I think, first of all, I can always run to music to not think about anything but what I'm creating in the moment. I think any business is most valuable when it creates.
Right.
And what I get most excited about is creating, whether it's writing my music or just creating. Even I was just creating an SOP before I came up here, just about time tracking and building systems and things like that, or creating and getting this daily huddle off the ground, like doing these things where you build something 0 to 1, not to nick that from Peter Thiel, but like just lots of small creations. So I think that's important, and that's something I think about a lot. And where I get excited is just forming something from nothing that I brought to life.
It's the creativity.
I also think musicians are inherently entrepreneurial in a lot of ways. Some of them not, and some are. But I think you have to be, if you really want to be a musician at this stage in the game with what's available to musicians now. You have to be thinking creatively, and
out of the box.
You're your own. You create it. You get to build your future there. But honestly, at one point, when we were really focused on running Mole Street, and we had Mole Street artists, which we've decided to kind of slow down. Some competing things, thinking there between the two kind of business. But now that music for me is more pure again, and it's more about writing and performing, in the way I'd like to, and less of like a business. It's kind of gives me the ability to kind of go back home somewhere and get deeper.
That's awesome.
A little bit more of a spiritual pursuit.
I'd love to hear you play guitar one time. So it'd be so much fun. Have you done concerts for these guys yet downstairs or yet?
Yeah, I think I did like an open mic here one time, and some stuff like that. But I'm excited to figure out when the season of life is that I can do that more often. But I will be releasing some music over the next year.
I love it.
Pursuing just original shows, maybe within like a 2-hour distance. And I've done a ton of weddings, ton of corporate events. I love that. I feel like I've gotten to play some amazing places, like the Fillmore multiple times, and I've done the Republican National Convention. I've done the Democratic National Convention. I've done big festivals with on the same bill as the Allman Brothers, and all kinds of cool. I've been to cool places from that, but just decided recently to not do corporate or weddings anymore. I got 2 more gigs left, and then kind of reset and
going back to that word, focus.
Yeah,
right?
Focus, and you gotta kind of create space for what's next. And sometimes you don't know what's next, but you have to create space when things get crowded to figure out what.
You have 3 kids, musician, founder. That's a lot, and time isn't always on our side as an entrepreneur. Matter of fact, it's usually not. So you have to figure where you're going to go with that. How do you take care of you? Obviously, you fly fisherman, which isn't exactly easy. You can't just like go down to like the dock and do fly fishing. So how do you get that done?
Yeah, it's similar to music for me, right? In that it's like a hallowed thing, and a buddy of mine who's also a musician, and we kind of compete, and we're like best friends. He got into it. I got into fly fishing when I was like 13, then dropped it, and he got really into it. We're part of this group up in the Poconos. We have access to some great water, and I get obsessed with stuff. So I got really into it and started tying flies. My wife's like, "Why are there feathers in the mail again? Why is this? Why did you spend $200 on feathers?"
Great.
But it's just really meditative, and you're out
You're
there.
Zen.
And it's tactical. You're in the woods. You're there for 10 hours. We go hard, so we're there for 10 hours and pack a lunch and hiking and just you're very focused. So it's one of those things where it blanks your mind.
Yeah.
I have a client who lives in Montana. I love this client, and he's like, I work to fish, and he just he sends me pictures on the weekend, and it's just an amazing. It's a sport. Don't laugh. It really is. It's more than just sitting on the dock and tossing it out there. You're in this dynamic environment, and you have to be in a beautiful place. So I just love it.
Oh, fun! I love it. And then what are you reading right now? Are you an Audible, or are you a person that has to have a book in front of you?
I like Audible a lot.
So do I.
So I consume a decent amount of business related, and I follow a bunch of different cats out there. Actually, I was just listening to a podcast with Ed Milet.
Yeah, of course.
Who I'm a huge fan of. I love his entire approach to life.
Tense man, but I love him. Yeah.
And he's his faith in that's aligned with mine too as a Christian. So I like him a lot. He's really cool. And so he's talking to a guy named Alex Hormozy, who's also a really big up and coming entrepreneur who's done really well. And so I was listening to that podcast. But everything Ed Milet puts out, I dig. I like Jesse Itzler. He's another kind of influencer.
Jesse's great. Sarah Blakely.
Trying to think what the last great book that I read was. I'm working on this book called Crossing the Chasm. It's about tech. It's a tech industry book from like the 90s, but it talks about the .com. It talks about like acquiring different kinds of customers. It's more of like a customer acquisition, study. Scaling up was great. I read at EOS. I try to do Audible as much as I can.
Yeah, I think we have to, and that's usually a commonality with the entrepreneurs. Like, there's never enough learning, so it's pretty cool. Yeah. But in regards to, I don't know, it's so much fun to see what you're doing and see where you're at. And I can tell you're in the middle of all that, so it's really cool stuff. If you had to give one word of advice to an entrepreneur before we end, what would that be?
I would say, if you believe in yourself and you have a vision for what you want to accomplish, even if you don't know, exactly what that is, but you really have like a strong pull to this. Go all in, don't look back, and stay in the game. I said this in the beginning. You have to stay in the game. If you're meant to be in the game, you got to stay in the game. Because things will reveal themselves to you. So there's lots of tactical things. There's things I could have done differently. There's,
the should-haves.
But I, when Brendan and I have had tough times or good times, we've always said like we're not going to quit.
Yeah.
So if you don't quit, you can't lose.
Well, you had a partner to help you out with that too, so it does help. How do people get a hold of you and your partner? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
You just email me.
Which is?
Brian@mullstreet.com.
How about LinkedIn? Are you on LinkedIn?
I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay. And Instagram, the other pieces out there?
Yeah, Instagram's, out there. My full name at for Instagram. I mainly do Instagram, LinkedIn, and you can just email me if you'd like. We are launching a new website and brand at the end of this month.
Great.
Which I'm thrilled about.
Yeah.
And we've done a lot of work to get that together.
Yep.
To kind of explain to the world who we are and where we're going. I tell everybody, that our vision is to be the McKinsey and Company of HubSpot Consulting.
Love it.
We're building our vision around becoming a large consultancy, but we're driving into this technology and as a focus for now. And I'd love to talk to anyone who's interested. If I could help them, that would be amazing.
Well, guys, there you have it. I mean, you got to reach out to Brian. And Brian, thanks for being on the show today. So I wish you the best of luck. Obviously, we're working together, so we'll get to see firsthand that website. And if anybody needs a website, HubSpot, I mean, we're using them, so you should be using them too. Hint, hint. And by all means, stay in touch. But for those out there, keep on plugging away, get your tribe out there, and don't give up and focus, as Brian mentioned. So thanks so much, Brian, for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. All right, take care, guys.